Millionaires of Reddit. How did you become so wealthy? I live in Eastern Europe. In 1990 I took out a huge loan and bought 10 apartments and furnished them. I rent them out to people, and with the money I earn from them I pay off the loan payments. I do this every 10 years. I have now 30 apartments and 1 employee who I pay to maintain them and make sure payments and maintenance is handled. The key is finding good tenants and maintaining a good relationship with them. It is not that hard, but a key to this strategy. How do you take out huge loans without any securities, though? Sure, this plan will work once you have your first few apartments, but how do you get there in the first place? You can have a cosigner when you start out and start smaller, that is, 2 or 3 apartments. And once you have the apartments you can also use them as security towards future loans without a cosigner. It would depend on what country you live in. Another important advice about this plan: do not go extravagant in the apartments. You do not need to buy a luxury apartment. The more you spend, the longer you will wait on a return of investment and more risk that a potential bad tenant will damage your property. In my 20s, I was a computer programmer just as the web started exploding in popularity. I could wire up websites and databases back when internet technologies were new and tooling was still primitive. I never hit it big with a viral website like Facebook or Amazon, but I did charge a lot for programming services. And I used that money to buy houses at first, and ultimately an apartment building in coastal California. In my 40s now. I don't feel very wealthy really. Oddly, I still check prices when shopping, and I plan to drive my old Jeep until it dies. When I travel, I often pay to fly first class, and I do enjoy the nicer hotels. But, other than that, I live and spend rather simply. Same here. Started at a late 90s .com. We went public and I was suddenly worth 8 figures in my 20s. Cashed out before the crash. I enlisted in the army when I was 18. I liked it. I asked to become an officer, and they let me. The army sent me to college and I graduated. My officer pay was way higher, and in the army you don't have very many bills. I found I could save in between 1k and 5k every month of my life. After my second deployment I was sitting on about 200k. I hired a financial manager. He did well a few years. I've bought and rented out a couple houses. I've got 17 years in the army. Creeping closer to a portfolio worth $2 million and a good pension in retirement. I'm about to make lieutenant colonel. I'm in my late 30s. Just grind and save. As a future army officer, this makes me smile. They should have stuck you in finance. A previous professor of military science came and talked to us when I was an MS4. He was an aviator that had been getting flight pay for like 25 years. He said that he'd invested all of his flight pay in one index fund that ended up being worth more than $1 million when he retired. That's all it took to convince me I had to invest. 5 deployments with extra pay and no taxes also helps you save money. It also makes you hate life. So ooh, there's that. Parents died. Parents died. Parents died. Always saved up a lot of money, 40% of my pay, and continually put it into stocks. Investment returns have outdone my savings for quite a while. You logs. Guess that's how you bought your GF. Converted all of my money into Zimbabwean dollars. I actually hit big at a casino a while back. Not enough where I can afford to quit my job and buy a mansion, but I'm comfy and so will my son be. Jesus, $2 million in one night. What size bets were you making? Pretty substantial ones. Was in a dark place. I used to run an apple cart in Make. Would buy an apple for 5c and sell it for 10c. Did this for 20 years. Then my wife's father died and left us a chain of hotels. Ooh, that's why Nick is called the Big Apple, right? I sell overpriced consultancy time to CTOs who don't know any better. STEM degree plus minimalism. CS major, and this is exactly what I'm banking on to acquire real wealth. I've been in the industry for over 10 years and have a dual masters in engineering as well. While it definitely put me in the upper middle class, I wouldn't bank on it. If you really want to move, make sure you don't just rely on CS and tech to build your wealth. Either learn finance or some other trade to go with your tech programming skills, or you will end up being a code monkey your whole career. Just 2 cents from someone who had been in the industry a while. My first million was the hardest to attain. It took me a good 10 to 15 years to find the perfect bank near the highway, a safe cracker that's not a complete fucking idiot, and an inside man that's not going to fold under a little bit of stress. Once I got my perfect team, getting the million was easy. The second was easier now that I got some experience under my belt. Honestly, that's how I'm going to do it. If not, I'm going to work as a software developer of some kind. Then create a program that takes the fractions of a cent from every transaction and moves them into a separate bank account. The amount would be so small, no one would ever find out. Haven't received my million yet, but my new Nigerian prince friend is going to call me with directions after I send him some of my bank info to make the transfer. I sold 18% of my company for a large sum of money and we worked together to expand. Self-made. Cracked the first $1 million just after 33 sometime. Then the next few came quickly. The best advice is to build capital early. I scrimped and saved and had my first car till I was 30 and it totally shat itself. Didn't waste money on holidays or any expenditure that wasn't 100% necessary. Holidays consisted just of time of work and going to beach or doing fun free things. So once I had a little nest egg $10K, I got a house, and every time I had a spare $50 put it against the mortgage. Then every time I got a pay rise the difference went to the mortgage, not to increase in lifestyle. I'm 45 now and saving becomes less of a priority as the base capital is there. I can spend every cent I earn and my base will still increase. Summary: get saving early. What car and what clothes you wear don't change who you are.